Hey everybody, this is another video showing how to create or how to work with the platform behavior in Construct 2. I'll show you really quickly what we have already. In the previous videos we made the ability to move left and right and the animation, walking and idle, just placeholder graphics. You could jump and hang on to the corners of ledges like that, and then you could jump up onto the platform to reach higher places. You could also wall jump back and forth, and you can only jump once, and if you get this power up over here you could jump a total of 3 times. So that's what we have so far. So in the previous videos you can check that out if you haven't already. In this video I'm thinking about adding an animation to pull yourself up over this ledge here. So if you press up, the player will kind of like pull himself up so you don't have to jump up. Now this is just an option. You don't have to do that. You could just keep it as, you know, jumping up like that, but I figure we'll try and do a little bit more technical type of stuff, or just get a little bit more involved with the different actions. And I was also thinking maybe doing like a wall slide type of thing as well. So anyways, let's go back into Construct 2 and see what we have here. We just have these events in the event sheet, and it's been a week since I've looked at this, so I've kind of forgotten how everything works. But the good thing about event sheets is it lists everything in order, top to bottom, left to right, so it's easy to figure stuff out and know what's going on. So this video is going to be unedited. It's just going to like show the whole process so that you can kind of see the whole thought process going on. That way you get a little bit more out of it. It's a little bit more time to consume, but I feel that's better for some people, rather than just do this without any explanation or reason or problems that might occur, because there might be some things that I get confused about, and you'll see me figure them out. So what we want to do is add another animation to the player sprite here, and right now if you click on grab, this is how he looks when he's hanging onto a ledge. So I might as well just duplicate this one and call it pull up. I guess that's an appropriate name for it. So pull up, and then duplicate the last frame. So now we want to make it look like he's pulling himself up. So this is just placeholder, so I'll just kind of rough in how I think it should look. When working on your own game, you can make it as refined as you want. But I like to just keep things rough in the beginning because you might change things later on, and right now we're just working on the mechanics and how stuff functions in the game. So yeah, so he's like that, and then that, like his hands further down, and duplicate that frame. And then I like clicking the frames over here because sometimes they don't select even though it shows it's selected, so that's just a weird thing with Construct. I don't know why it does that. So yeah, and another thing is you might want more frames or less frames depending on how smooth you want the animation to look. So it doesn't really matter how many frames, as long as it suits the style, the art style. So you got it like that, and then that. And another thing we're going to think about is how to align the sprite while it's moving, because right now we just have it in the same spot basically, and he's just moving his hands and legs. But in the game we'll want to adjust the position based on, well, I'll get into that later. That's a little bit more down the line, not too soon though. But okay, so duplicate this one, and let's just clear this frame and redraw it, because it would probably be different. Let's say it's like this and like that, and then duplicate this last frame here, clear that, and then make it look like he's, you know, crouching down, like the platform's underneath him. And you know, this is just rough, but you'll see how it looks when it's complete. And I might be making more frames than necessary here, but I just want to show you how involved it could look, I guess. So then, okay, maybe starting to get back up like that. Okay, so we have that. Actually, it's like that, then that, then that, then that, that. Looks a bit weird. I did it really quickly, so it's gonna be all weird, but that's all right. So okay, that's fine. Now we have the animation. Let's go into the event sheet. Okay, is hanging platform. This is the state he is when he's hanging, the event that corresponds to that. It sets the X and Y position, or the vector. Yeah, the speed vector, the velocity of the platform behavior, so that it doesn't move, both in the X and Y axes. And then sets the position relative to the tile map grid, and kind of rounds it off so that it snaps to the nearest tile space, so it looks like he's just stuck there, stuck to the side of the wall. And then changes the animation to grab, and if you press down arrow, he falls off. So let's copy this and paste it, and then change this to up arrow. Yeah, up arrow. And then is hanging to false. I guess we could do that. And then I guess we need another, we could add another instance variable. Yeah, I suppose that would be best. To the player's family instance variables is hanging. We'll just do like is pull up and make it a boolean, true or false basically. And then instead of is hanging, we change this to is pull up, and we change it to true. So when you press up, oh, we also need the is hanging set to false when we press up. So I copied and pasted it over. Now, so it'll stop hanging, and then it'll start the pull up. So now, oh, and we also need to change the animation to pull up. Now what I was thinking about earlier is we might not need the is pull up variable, and we could just check to see if the pull up animation is running instead. Yeah, that's another way to do it. So, but I figure we'll just keep it the same way that we've done other stuff. Okay, so is pull up true and the pull up animation. Now create another event below, checking if, actually hold on a second. hold on a second. We don't need to change the is hanging. Because we still need to keep the player stuck to the side of the wall, right? Okay, so see, this is why I'm showing the whole process, because you might have an idea, but then there's reasons why you shouldn't do it, or there are reasons why it might be better to do it a different way. If we disable is hanging, then the player won't be stuck to the wall anymore. So we'd have to recreate those events. So might as well just keep it hanging while we pull the player up. So delete that is hanged false, delete that, and then we can still set the is pull up to true. We might need that. We'll just use that for now. And then animation to pull up. Now it has up here set animation to grab, so if it's still hanging, it'll just immediately set the animation back to grab. So we need to add an event above here, checking if it's is pull up to true, and then invert it, which means is pull up false, and then drag this grab animation down into that. So the grab animation will only play if is pull up is false, if you're not pulling yourself up yet. So if you press up, is pull up will be turned to true, and the animation will be changed as well, and then it won't get set back to grab because is pull up is true and not false, right? Okay, so so that's sorted. Now you could also put down arrows down and drag this up into there, because you don't want to be able to fall while you're pulling yourself up. That doesn't make sense, right? So I'm just going to drag that up into this event as a nested sub event. That way this event only gets checked if you're not pulling yourself up. Okay, so there, yeah, that's solved for that issue, potential issue. Now, what else? So we hit up arrow, he's pulling himself up, and now, oh, another thing. Remember how currently if you press, oh wait, no, that's different. That's if you press the jump button. The jump button is different from the up arrow. It's the W key, so that's all right. Let's run it. Let's see what happens. And now it's going to look funny because he stays in the same position. So if I press up, nothing happened. Changed to the jump animation instead. So let's see what happens here. What's going on? What's going on here? Oops, that's not the one I want to look at. Player sprite. Pull up. Okay, that's right. Okay, so now why is it changing to, was it the jump animation or the fall animation? I think it was the fall animation. Okay, so is not hanging, is on floor. Well, where is the fall animations? Right here. This platform is falling. Platform is jumping. Platform is falling. Okay, I think I understand why. I think this event, well, this event fires every game cycle. up arrow is down is pressed only momentarily. Sets it to choose, sets animation to pull up. Okay. Now because the up arrow isn't pressed all the time, something else is resetting the animation when the key isn't down. I wonder if I hold the key down, does the whole animation play? Let's check that out, see what happens. I'm holding it down, nothing happens. Okay. But it doesn't get changed back to the hold it down. So something's changing it when I release the key. Why is it doing that? Oh, okay, I think I understand why. When it was grabbing, it was resetting the animation each game cycle, even though something else was resetting it. So it was resetting it to another animation, then it was sending it back to the grab animation. That's why we didn't notice it earlier. And it was only one frame. So these right here is jumping. I got it. Okay, so is jumping, then it sets to jump. But if it's not jumping, it sets to false. Since we're hanging on the wall, is jumping is false, right? Platform is falling. I think platform is set to falling even though we're grabbing to the wall, right? So with these, we need to check to see if the player is not hanging. So I guess we could just add a blank sub event. I just like adding blank sub events because I don't know. And I'll paste that in, is not hanging, and then I'll drag these two events in here like that. So these will only run if you're not hanging on the wall. I think that'll fix it, but let's check. I also want to speed up the pull animation over here, set to 15 frames per second, just to make it a little bit quicker. Okay, now let's try running that, see if those events helped, or that restructuring of the events, see if it helped a bit. So now we got it. We grab, now press up, and as you can see, his animation changed to the pull-up animation. I keep pressing it and it keeps playing every time. Hold it down, keep pressing. So we need to change his position, the sprite position, as he's pulling himself up. Okay, how do we do that? Well, it would be kind of difficult to just do it in events for every frame as the frame changes. Luckily, we could just change the origin point of the player sprite. Okay, this is a case where it is a good idea to change the location of the image point, the origin point. So we got this right here. We click on the image point icon, and it shows the image points for all the frames. Right now they're all set in the center of this sprite. Now we want to reposition these so that the player sprite kind of gets offset, because the origin point corresponds to where the player sprite gets positioned relative to the player collision box object that we use, if that makes sense. So I'll just move it down here. Actually, I guess just move it down. So his hand moves about that much space down, so move the image point about. Is that right? Yeah, I guess that's right. Trying to think, and then down here maybe. And then pulls himself over, so maybe over here, and then maybe over there, and then maybe over here, way down here. I don't know, let's try that. Now you'll want to be a bit more precise with your sprite, and you could always keep editing it to make it look a little bit more better. So let's see what that looks like. So if I go over here and I jump and I press up, you can see how the sprite got offset. If I keep pressing it, you can see that. See how it moves because I changed the origin point. So it looks like he's kind of moving up over the ledge. Now obviously it's not accurately placed because we just kind of estimated where it would be, but that gives you an idea what's going on. The origin point still being positioned always to the player collision box object thing that we have in the center of it, and because we move that origin point on the sprite, the actual sprite is offset from that position basically. So if you haven't done that before, it's kind of weird to wrap your head around that, but it's something that you might use often for different things. So let's go back in and just refine it a little bit. So it's basically too far over, so we could probably position it up there a bit maybe. And there, and maybe there, I don't know. Let's see how that looks. So that's a little bit better. You can see it's kind of, I guess we could just move them down a couple pixels on the last frame, on a couple last frames basically. And I think we'd be good. So let's go back into the player sprite. To move them down, we move this up, so you can just subtract a couple off there, and this one subtract a couple off there, and maybe this one as well too. I think it'll look good now. Press up, and there he is. He pulled himself up. Wow, look at that. That's pretty awesome. You could probably adjust a couple of the other frames because his hand kind of jiggles around, or you could just redraw the sprite a little bit so everything works out. As you can see, he's pulling himself up, so that's good. Now what we want to do is, after he pulls himself up, after the sprite animation finishes, we should reposition this collision box to where the player character is. Now this is just one way of doing it. Another way you could do it is actually move the collision box. It's a little bit more involved. That way you'd have the collision box kind of following the actual location in case that's important to you, if you want the collisions to always be accurate. But in this case, we're not going to worry about that for now. And there are other ways to kind of find collisions. You could collide with another object while he's pulling himself up or whatever. But anyways, and that object be kind of like moved with the player sprite. Anyways, another thing to do is what are we doing? Oh yeah, we need to move this on top of the ledge when the player sprite moves. So to do that, how do we do that? There's different ways to do that. We could just move it a certain amount of pixels, or we could reposition it to where the player sprite is using another image point. See, I could go to the last frame and add another image point here, and then it'll be centered there, and then we could just move the player box to this image point. See, I'll show you that. I guess I'll just show you that since I already added it. What we do here is where is it? Is hang. So it should be still true. We'll just add another event down here. Player sprite unfinished. If the pull up animation is finished, set position of this to player sprite image point X, and then 1 for image point. 0 would be the origin point, and 1 would be the first image point. Copy that, paste it to the Y, change the X to a Y, and now you have it set to the image point. First image point, index 1. So I think we also need to adjust the position a little bit in the y-axis, because I don't think it's positioned directly on it. See, we set the player y, set the player sprite -4, so that's 4 pixels higher than the collision box. So what we need to do when we reposition it is set the collision box +4. Okay, so now that's that, and then we need to set is hanging to false as well, is pull up to false as well too, and then what else? Is that it? Yeah, I think that's it. So let's try it. Oh, we might, well, I think it'll automatically change to the idle animation. Let's try it. Okay, so we, why didn't it? Okay, we jump, press up, he pulls himself up. Pretty cool, huh? Looks good. And for the other side, it should do it for the other side as well, because sprite is mirrored. So he's facing that, and then he just pulls himself up. As you can see, the collision box gets repositioned, and that's all good. Obviously, it could be a little bit more accurate, and you just have to tweak the image point and stuff like that. Make sure it's drawn more accurately. That's pretty good. So pretty simple, pretty easy to do. Now another thing I was thinking of doing is maybe making like a wall slide. Change the animation while you're next to the wall. Show them kind of like sliding down it, just to add a bit more, you know, what's the word? feedback, I guess. Yeah, feedback, visual feedback. So if you're like jumping up against it, we'll change his animation to look like he's sliding down it. So let's go back into the player sprite and add a wall. Well, we can just duplicate the falling animation, since when he's falling, that's when it gets changed. So we can just do like a slide. Oh, I guess wall slide is more accurate. And click on wall slide to make sure it's selected, and over here we can just zoom in and change the way this looks. So how should we do it? Go back to the pencil tool. Maybe he has his arm raised up like this and like that, and maybe his leg is kind of bent up a little bit, and this one's kind of connected, so both of them are there. And then we can drag this over here and like that, and then actually maybe I think I like it more like that. His body is angled more, like there's what's the word? Like he's kind of, I don't know, like he's sliding down it. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I guess we could move this over a bit. I'm trying to think like how far away the wall is. I guess if the collision box is 16 pixels wide, and this is, how big is this? 32 pixels. So we need about, and he's centered here, so we need about 8 pixels on either side. How many is this? This is 8 pixels. Okay, so that should be positioned accurately. So 8 pixels this side, 8 pixels this other side. Is directly in the center. The wall should be right there. Okay, so that's good now. So okay, if he's falling, let's go into the events. If he's falling because he's sliding down, we don't want him to slide up. If he's sliding down, if he's falling, where is the fall events? Right here. Else platform is falling. Set it to fall, and wall jumping is wall jumping. He isn't wall jumping yet, so it's false. So what we need to do is we need to add another event, a sub event, checking if the player is by a wall. How convenient. Left. Platform has wall to the left. So is wall to the left. I guess we could add an or. Add a condition. Add another condition is right. And then change it to or. Is left or right. Set animation to wall slide. Okay. I think that will work just like that. So if there's left or right, we'll change it to wall slide. Pretty sure that's all we need. Let's try running it. And there, yeah, there we have it. Jumped up, and since we're falling next to a wall, looks like he's sliding down it. So that's cool. And it works for both sides. And while he's falling down, you could add some particles, like some dust particles, like he's rubbing against it. So it's just kind of like visual feedback, so you know, like, oh, I could jump while he's sliding down. Like, I'm attached there. Yeah, I could jump now. Wall jump. And maybe you want it so that he doesn't, you know, can move off of it while he's wall sliding. Maybe you want him to get stuck there. So that's another thing we could do, just to show you really quickly. It's not wall jumping. Press left and right. So these frames, we just check to see. We just add another condition, checking to see if the wall slide is playing wall slide, and just invert that. So if he's not wall sliding, then you can move left or right. So let's try that. Pretty simple. So now when you wall slide, you can't move off of it, you have to jump off. See? Since the animation changes when he hits the ground, we could move left and right. So that's kind of cool. So that's interesting. So you could kind of like that's weird. Let's fix that. So here, what we want to do is just split this into two events, one for each wall and one for each direction, and just copy that wall slide in there. And then if he has a wall to the right, we want to mirror him. Where's the mirroring? We have a mirroring somewhere. Not mirrored. Let's copy these. Paste them up here, and so we want wall to the right, he's not mirrored. Wall to the left, he's mirrored. So let's try that. That should fix the issue, I think. Oops. Yeah. So that's pretty good. It's kind of weird though. I mean, there's some. If I press the away key as soon as he hits, there's a little weirdness to it. See that? Like he's look at that. How do I fix that? Else is falling. Wall jump fall. Is platform right. Platform left. It's animation wall slide. I think what we can do is just platform has wall to right. Platform has wall to right. Platform has wall to right. I think we could like reposition his position based on the tile, but only do it for the X. So we can do that here, set position X, and then his Y would just be self.y. And copy this over and put it there. Let's try that. Just a quick fix. See if it works. It'll snap him to the, yep, yeah, it's positioned him a little bit better. There's still strange weirdness to it though. I don't know why it does that. This could be like a quirk with the platform behavior, so I'll have to like look into it a little bit. I wonder why it does that. I wonder if we could simulate this to make it move to the left and simulate it so it moves to the right. I wonder if that would help. That might force the platform behavior to kind of move towards it. Let's see if that does it. I think it improves it slightly. This might be like a bug that I think I improved it enough so that it's not really noticeable. Like, it's not really noticeable unless you really try hard to reproduce it now, you know? So I think it's at a state where it won't be much of an issue, I don't think. I think it looks all right. So that's just a little quirk. So platform behavior. I think that will be enough to solve the issue. But anyways, as you can see, those are a little bit more interesting things you could do with the platform behavior and animations and things like that. So I'm not sure what I'll do for the next video, but if you have any suggestions as to what you might want to see and things like that, leave it in the comments and stuff like that. I'll put the project file on my Patreon page. You just need to follow me and then you can get it for free basically. So yeah, I think that's it. Hope that was helpful.